Oh, I'm sorry, the Director of Finance, and he does have a report. Director Vasquez, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few items for tonight's report. Still doing work incorporating the feedback from the finance workshop to revise the projected budget for 2025. I'm now planning to have the tax levy ordinance presented for approval at the second board meeting in December. And the budget / appropriations ordinance will be presented at a meeting in the first quarter of 2025. One of the items asked about in our budget workshop was getting a better estimate for the Deerfield Road landscaping to replace the $100,000 placeholder that was presented. I have spoken with Steve Zimmerman, and he has not yet been involved on that project. But we're going to find some time to meet so that he can let the staff know what information he needs to provide a better estimate based on the landscape plan that we want to put in place there. The acoustic engineer that came out to look into the sound of the boardroom has provided their report to our building's architect, Bob Hammer. He is reviewing the report and its findings before passing that report on to the staff. So when we have more information, we'll bring it forward. Another item I have is a few years ago, our mayor made an inquiry with one of our local elected representatives about potential grant money to help bring Lake Michigan water to additional areas of the village. We know that extending the water system will cost several millions of dollars with the way current pricing stands. After finding out about this initial inquiry, I did some following up on the request for that grant money for the water fund with the office of our current rep a few months back with Tracy Katz-Small. And we found out that that amount of $200,000 was being contemplated in the state's fiscal year 24 budget based on that initial request. I was eventually contacted by a grant manager from the state regarding this potential $200,000. However, the project to extend the water system never happened because of the high cost. But I wanted to see if the village might still be able to qualify to receive that $200,000 if it was being contemplated. After some discussion with the grant manager, I was told that it seems that the water main project we had in 2024 for Saunders Road could qualify for these funds based on the type of capital work and the time frame of when the work was done. So right now I'm currently working with GHA to put together the application to the state to get them the paperwork needed to process this request. While there is more work that needs to be done and the process needs to play out a little further, I am cautiously optimistic that we can get that $200,000 reimbursed for the water fund from the state for that water main work on Saunders Road that was completed earlier this year. So as updates become available, I'll make sure to share them, but cautiously optimistic.
Good job. Good job.
I recently had a chance to meet with the finance director of Lincolnshire. It was a good discussion. In particular, we did discuss potential areas where we might be able to work with them. And one area was looking into the possibility of them being able to provide utility billing services for the village. Anytime that there's a service that we pay for that I think might be able to have potential savings without losing quality of work, it's definitely something we always want to look into. So that was an initial discussion. I hope to have further updates down the line for you. And on the theme of speaking with other units of government, Director Witt and I this past week had a meeting with the Lake County Public Works. As you know, we have an existing intergovernmental agreement with them, and we've been working to establish regular meetings with them to find out their schedule of maintenance on our sewer system, as well as potential projects that they could help the village with in the future. It was a good meeting, and I believe that we will hopefully have some further updates to come on our work with them. And that's all I have for tonight.
Are there any questions for our director?
I have,
Trustee Jamerson, please.
thank you. I have a question, and you may not have an answer. And it might be more towards Trustee Hollander or Attorney Hubbard. The $100,000 for the landscaping along Deerfield Road, and I know nothing about what the county's doing with the landowners, but I believe they're compensating them in a lot of cases for the land that they're taking, which, might mean that the landowner is going to have to put a new fence up or maybe some bushes or whatever. Have we taken any of that into account in what we're thinking we're going to spend? And how would we, I guess it's an open-ended question. I
Research.
I
I don't know the answer to that.
That
Trustee
was the
Clayton?
reason, it was exactly that was the reason why that was originally put into the
because we didn't know
capital,
what they were going
into
to
the
do.
capital plan. So it was basically a place marker. But I don't know exactly what Steve's role in that would be. So that's something that I want to talk about later.
We also
Trustee
had
Hollander.
a significant amount of unfinished business with this, trying to determine how we would interface with the landowner. And that is, the village puts in a tree, who's responsible for taking care of it. If the tree dies, whatever it is, and we never completed that process as to determine if we did do anything along the road that impacted or at least occurred on private property, how we would interface with the individual who owned that property.
Right.
And that was never followed through to determine at that time. So even if we put some money towards this, that has to be resolved.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I asked the question. So,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
To be continued.
I have a quick question.
Trustee Dickon.
Can you offer a little more depth as to why we're looking into outsourcing billing to adjacent municipalities? Are we unhappy with our engineering groups?
Sure. So at one point, several years ago, the utility billing was done in-house here. And then in the more recent history, was done by a third-party accounting firm that was doing work in the village. And then from there, it transitioned to our engineering firm that we use, GHA, took that over. So it has kind of moved around a few times recently. I do feel that the rates that we paid using the third-party engineering firm, perhaps with a public entity, we might be able to get better rates. This is a public entity that is already familiar with utility billing from having to do it themselves in-house.
They do it in-house.
They do
They don't
their own in-house. The Lincolnshire, they do have some experience not only doing their own billing, but they have done a similar thing for other municipalities that are limited in their staff size like we are. There are some other areas that line up in a way that kind of makes sense. They use the same accounting software that we do, so they're familiar with how that end of it works. They're also familiar with, there's another software for where the meter readings go. And both of those are actually able to be accessed remotely, so it goes one step further into being something that could possibly be done on their end without having to, drive around. So it seems like an opportunity for, and another point to bring up is, while they're used to doing utility billing, because not only do they do it for themselves, but they've done it for other units of government, the current firm that's doing it for us, we are their first client that has done utility billing. So there are times where something may come up that an experienced utility billing clerk would see. You might recall shortly after I started, I noticed that when rates increased, the user rate was increased on the residential end, but they didn't realize that they also need to increase the rate for the commercial account. So things like that, I feel like a experienced utility billing clerk that's used to doing this for years and years might pick up on those kinds of things.
Thank you for that clarification.
Are there any other questions for our director? If not, thank you very much. Next item of business would be the treasurer's report. Hal is not with us this evening. Director of Community Services report. Director Witt, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So for Saunders Road, we have two projects, both the county's and ours. The county has removed most of the equipment from the Deerfield-Saunders Road intersection, which is very plain to see. They're currently working on replacing the sidewalk at that intersection and restoring the landscaped areas. So I believe they'll be done with that project very shortly. For the resurfacing project, we will be resubmitting the necessary paperwork this week to get the project back on track and onto the March letting that's occurring in 2025. So there really are no further updates on that until we get through that particular process. Hazardous tree survey. The field work is done. Urban Forest Management has gone through the village, looked at all of the trees adjacent to the public right-of-way, and they have prepared a list of all the trees that need to either be pruned back or to be removed. And the number of trees placed on the list is a mild 398 trees, 62 of which require pruning, 336 require removal. Of those, 17 are village-owned, and the rest, 381, are resident-owned. So we're preparing a bid package to get quotes for the tree removal services, preparing notices for involved residents to inform them of the need to have the tree work performed. In conjunction with that work, we're looking to seek separate bids for the removal of about 7 trees from Village Hall property in the back so that we can eventually reopen the walkways. We have concerns over the trees. We have seen one within the last year actually fall down across the walkway, and that was the purpose for the, or that was the impetus for the walkways being closed. And we're also looking at tree removal for the Saunders Road resurfacing project. The county has requirements for distance. I don't know the exact number, but there is a distance requirement for having a clear space off the shoulder of the road. That particular project requires the removal of another 153 trees. So we're trying to see whether or not, right now we're comparing Urban Forest Management's list of trees at Saunders Road and see if they are concurrent with what we need to remove on Saunders to really tell the impact of how many more trees we need to get removed. That tree removal is on the village's dime. The next item, Montessori Garage, just want to give a quick update. Permit application was received for the garage. The village is not in any way, shape, or form holding up the permitting process. The application was reviewed within our normal timeframes and sent back to the school on November 7th for corrections to the drawings and additional information that we need in order to process the permit. We are still awaiting their response to that. So when we get that in, we'll hopefully be able to issue the permit for it. And last on my list, Federal Life demolition of the existing building. We're working with WB Olson to prepare the demolition bid package, which we have scheduled to be released on December 2nd. We anticipate bringing a recommendation of a demolition contractor to the board at the January 21st board meeting. We anticipate also that the building demolition would start the week of January 28th and likely continue through to final completion around April 10th, at which point in time the site would be cleaned up and everybody off site. We'll be bringing a recommendation for the award of a contract for the removal of the asbestos materials that are in the building still in 2 rooms on December 3rd, with that work occurring in the following week. The asbestos materials that they have found are really limited to the adhesive for some of the floor tile that was put in, some by Federal Life, some by one of their tenants. So it is minor work, but it needs to be done nonetheless. So in the meantime, We'll be meeting with the police and fire district personnel later this week to solidify their training schedules to allow them to do their thing and rip the building apart as they see fit. But most of that will occur after the asbestos contractor is in. So we have a lot of things that are happening at that building. There's a lot of things happening in order to get this moving forward, but it looks like we're very well on track. WB Olson is really coming to the plate and helping us out in putting that package together. So, any questions?
Are there any questions? Trustee Eastman, please.
Sure. So I have two questions. The first is, when do you envision having the hazard tree survey done? Like, what's your best guess as to when you'll get through all the removals? And
Well, the survey
just because that was kind of a concern of a lot of people in the village.
So the survey itself is complete. And we do have a definitive list of the trees that we're looking at by address. Those notices we're hoping to get out in the next couple of weeks. We've been concentrating mostly with the Federal Life Demolition Package, trying to get that out. We see that as a priority. One of the things I need to work with Attorney Hoover on, and I've not had an opportunity to do this, but we have concern over the presence of bats within Illinois restricts tree removals to the months of March through the February, March, or March and May. Only in March and May are you really allowed to take trees down, because to preserve not only the Indiana bat, but there's also, I think, a long-eared bat. The state of Illinois, the Department of Fish and Wildlife restricts removal of trees between April 1st and October 30th. So we have a tight time frame that we can actually do this. So we're anticipating this is going to be a very early to late spring project, but I still need to confirm with Attorney Hoover if that particular regulation applies to us. It does apply to state projects and federally funded projects, but I don't know if it is local, but we'll talk later.
Talk later.
Unless you have
Unless you
something
want to
to
talk
say
now.
something now.
Well, this was a request that Lake County made because they're reimbursing us with funds from the federally funded project, and they're subject to this regulation. And this only involves a few of the trees that would prevent our grading plan. That's what we're talking about.
Oh,
There are
okay.
just
So-
a few.
So
Well, it really-
not
So it's not gonna
private
affect-
property.
It's
yeah.
not going to affect Mr. and Mrs. homeowner. Okay.
It affects the removal of the trees on Saunders Road.
And we were trying to package the
But
whole.
we're not, the village isn't doing that. The only grading that we're talking, tree removal is on the federal life site that interferes with the county has this other concern for the whole project. We don't have that.
Okay, all right. Trustee Clayton, did you have a point? Or Trustee Hollander? Did you? Okay. Trustee Dickon, okay. Are there any other questions for our director? Any comments? Okay. Moving on, we'll go to our consultant's report or our attorney's report, please.
I was contacted by an attorney who represents the synagogue that's on Saunders Road, tucked in next to Thorngate. They've been in discussions with the owner of the Center for Holistic Health, which is at 240 Saunders Road. If you remember, it's a little small building. A year or two ago, the doctor there had talked about maybe selling the building to a health food type use. That didn't pan out. The current proposal is to use it for afternoon Hebrew school lessons and some Sunday morning gatherings. They think the attendance would be, maybe 30 at a time. The building itself would probably limit attendance to some extent. To the south of the building is what used to have been the King's Kennel, and it's now owned by Discover as for parking if they ever just improve it as such. And immediately to the north is the Center for Enriched Living, which, conducts programs and things. Steve and I talked about this as potentially being already a permitted use, but I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this. The lawyer read our ordinance again more carefully, quizzed me about it, and said they'd feel more comfortable if this use was explicitly allowed in the zoning. So in order to do that, they're in the office and research compatible district. We rezoned it at one time a couple of years ago. And I think they're just looking for a slight text amendment that would allow this kind of use in that district so that they wouldn't have a question about it. just talking with Director Witt, it's a fairly innocuous use in a building that's fairly isolated from everything else and consistent, actually, very consistent with what the Center for Enriched Living is doing. So I'm sort of just reporting to the board. They will be filing an application, and we'll probably be trying to get to the Plan Commission, Lori, I would think in January with this text amendment. And that's it.
Question?
No.
Trustee Jamerson, please.
Would that be opening us up to other facilities in our other parcels that are zoned that way?
Well, office and research compatible includes the Holiday Inn, the office building that's across the drive from that, and Saunderswood Corporate Center. I don't think there's anything else in the office and research compatible, and this parcel.
Okay, thank you.
And the King's Kennel.
I think they're gone. Are there any comments or questions for our attorney? Okay, moving on. Plan Commission report, please. Chair Brightcoff.
Sounds like it's on.
Yeah.
Good evening. We did not meet this month, and as far as I know, we plan to meet on December the 5th, but I have not yet seen an agenda, so I have nothing to report for this month.
Are there any questions for our chair? Okay.
Do you want me to report for the
Zoning Board of Appeals, would you
Yes.
like to convey that report, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chairman Granitor could not be here, and she asked me to say that she has no report.
Next on our agenda is the police report. Chief, do you have anything for us this evening?
Yes, I do. First, the police activity since the last meeting is in the board packets. Next, I'd like to report to the board about the village purchase of a mass notification solution and a work management solution that we purchased from our website provider, Civic Plus. Due to some time constraints that I'll explain in a little bit, the mayor approved the total expenditure of $4,950, which is within her spending limit. So I have a kickoff meeting tomorrow with Civic Plus to implement their mass notification system by January 1st in 2025 to reach residents in an emergency. The system will replace our current system, Final Site Connect, formerly Blackboard Connect. Some of you may have heard of that. The Civic Plus system will reach subscribed residents by telephone, email, and text, as well as through social media, through an interface to provide immediate critical information on incidents such as crime alerts, boil water alerts, road closures, weather hazards. Additionally, with this system, we can set up automated alerts from the National Weather Service and alerts from the Federal Emergency Management System, FEMA, from their integrated public alert and warning system. So the current Final Site Connect that we're using right now for notifications, to renew it would be $4,113 for 2025, starting January 1st. The Civic Plus mass communication system, which actually does a little bit more, would normally be $4,000 per year, which is still less than Final Site Connect. But with the multi-purchase discounts and some further negotiations that I engaged with them on, we will pay $3,000 per year with an additional one-year discount of $750 for a total of a first-year cost of $2,250. Partly because we were also purchasing SeeClickFix for use by Village Hall. Now, SeeClickFix is a management tool the Director of Community Services, Steve Witt, plans to implement to intake non-emergency citizen submissions, assign requests internally, resolve issues, and measure request performance. And if there's questions on that, I'm sure he'd be happy to entertain those. SeeClickFix would normally be $5,000 per year. But by purchasing it with the mass notification system, the cost will only be $4,000 per year with an additional first-year discount of $1,300 for a total first-year cost of $2,700. And as I mentioned, the total first-year cost for both systems will be $4,950. As for the time constraints I mentioned, in order to cancel our current final site Connect notification system, which expires December 31st, the village had to give 30 days notice. The Civic Plus system typically takes 4 to 6 weeks from signing the agreement to go live. We did sign on the 13th of November, and they've assured me that we will be live by January 1st, so we won't be without a system since I've already given notice that we're canceling final site. Additionally, Village Clerk Moore is looking at the Civic Plus solutions for ordinance codification, which Attorney Huvard is aware of, that she's looking at that, and a system for agenda building that I know that she had a meeting with them, I believe, yesterday on. And when I negotiated for the mass notification system and C-Clicks Fixed, we also talked about that we may be purchasing one or both of those solutions. And so there's some built-in negotiations that they said they would honor for additional discounts should we move forward with one or both of these systems. And that's all I have.
Trustee Hollander, please.
I know that we're not allowed to use the mass notification system for village business. Is there a way to put on there the ability for the recipient to check a box to have their email used for our electronic publication to be able to opt in?
It's on there. Yeah, if you're saying
The mass notification.
when we send out a mass notification, Lily and I set it up where we encourage them to sign up for our newsletter. Is that what you're talking about?
I didn't know that. I just learned
Okay,
something
yeah, it's on the
there.
bottom.
There you
Well,
go.
you already signed
Thank
up a
you.
long time ago, but it's
Well,
on
it was
the
a great
bottom.
idea then.
Problem
Yeah.
solved.
All right.
Good idea. Problem solved. Thank you. Trustee Jamerson, please.
I have a question. So about 5 o'clock this morning, at least where I live, I heard air raid sirens going off for about a minute.
I
Any
wasn't
idea?
here at 5 o'clock this morning. I was still sleeping.
I should have been sleeping too, but unfortunately that wasn't the case.
As far as I know, we did not set off our system.
Okay.
I
'Cause
don't
that's
know why
handled by
anybody else would
Deerfield,
have.
Right? That's
What's
handled
that?
by Deerfield Dispatch, right? Our sirens?
Yes, and I would typically be notified if they were setting them off. for
Yeah,
some
it sounded
reason,
like it
so-
was Buffalo Grove, but
Yeah, I don't know why they would have been, but and especially at 5 in the morning.
somebody was asleep at the switch,
Yeah,
literally.
yeah.
Are there any other questions for our chief? Thank you very much. Thank you for all you do. Fire District, Chief Kruger is not with us this evening. Moving on to comments from the president. I'd like to do a quick quorum check for December, please. We do have the tax levy coming up, and I want to make sure that we have enough people at the meeting. I know that I've gotten, Trustee Hollander has already indicated that he will not be able to attend the December 3rd meeting. The next meeting is the 17th. Do we have any, you're here, here? Okay, we're good. Okay, so December 17th, we're good with a quorum. I needed to ask that. We might have a similar issue on January 21, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So far, I know that 3 of us are unable to attend, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You see the meeting dates that will be posted on the website. And looking out, I can see that one is the one on April Fool's Day. That may well be rescheduled. It's the same day as the consolidated election, and we typically have, this is an election site, so just a heads up. The only other thing I have to report is I did go to the South Lake Mosquito Abatement District meeting last night, and that board is really moving strongly ahead. They will have a decennial report ready very, very soon. Our 2 representatives there, our resident representatives, Laura Trevino and Rich Kumjian, really do lead the discussion and have done a lot for that board. The report itself is very thorough. I expect it to be out. Hopefully, they're supposed to have it out. The deadline is December 10th to have it filed, but I think you can learn a lot from it. talks about how they approach mosquito populations and general vector disease issues, as well as the appropriate chemicals used in their work. So again, what we were expecting is the board to dissolve itself. What's not happening is the board they are getting stronger and more involved. So it's a very strong plus. Nevertheless, today I did send Representative Morgan's legislative assistant some language to think about in terms of amending the state law to allow a seat at the table for Riverwoods, for municipalities participating in that district. So we'll see what happens. No one should hold their breath. I suspect we will continue to attend those board meetings just to make sure that we have a voice in some way, shape, or form. It's a very welcoming board, by the way, if you all want a small room, welcoming board. So that's all I have tonight. So moving on to new business. The first is a discussion of a proposed building expansion for Orphans of the Storm Animal Shelter for referral to the Plan Commission. And we have representatives from Orphans here today, but we'll start with Director Witt leading us through the discussion, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Real simple. The Orphans of the Storm Animal Shelter is seeking to expand their existing facilities. The property is located within an R1 zoning district in which an animal shelter is permitted through a special use permit. Now, since the animal shelter has been in existence well before the village has been incorporated, there is no special use permit in effect, so we're not amending, but the changes to the facility would require the issuance of a special use permit. So representatives from an animal shelter are here tonight, the architect and another member of the board, I believe. So staff asks that the board would review the request and determine if the project should be forwarded to the Plan Commission for their review and subsequent recommendation to the village board. As part of the packet, there are preliminary site plan, floor plans, renderings, but at this point I would turn this over to either Michelle or to the architect to make a quick presentation on their request.
All right, perfect. Can everyone hear me?
Well, we need that.
I know.
Audio.
Oh, got it.
It's the tape.
Got it.
It's the,
I hear
yeah,
you. Thank you.
got it.
Am I audible? Is this good?
Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you. Excuse me. My name is Michelle Shields. I'm the volunteer president of Orphans of the Storm. I assume all of you know Orphans of the Storm. Hopefully you've been there before. If not, I would encourage you to come and visit. We've been in business for nearly a century. As you just mentioned, we've been in business for 96 years. Our shelter has been a vital part of this community during this time, providing care for animals and connecting them with loving homes over 150,000 times so far. You may not know that we take in lost and abandoned dogs and cats from about 20 municipal police departments, including Riverwoods and Lake County Animal Control. Thing is, our building has aged beyond its ability to meet the needs of modern animal care. It's literally crumbling into the ground. We've got outdated ventilation systems, drainage, our concrete is crumbling, falling down, so it's time for us to be planning for our next 100 years. So thank you for allowing us to share an important step in our plan to replace our nearly century-old building with one that can take us into the next 100 years. To help us bring this vision to life, we partnered with Mike Mathis here of the Linden Group Architects and with RWE Design Build. You might be familiar with some of their work. They completed the veterinary specialty building in Bannockburn on Waukegan Road. It's a beautiful LEED certified project that demonstrates their commitment to designing functional, efficient, and sustainable buildings. The Linden Group has a strong track record of creating animal shelters, veterinary offices, and similar facilities that not only meet their operational needs, but also enhance community engagement. Their expertise and thoughtful approach will help us design a shelter that supports animal welfare, providing a welcoming space for the community, and will fit seamlessly into our village's character. That's the plan. So Mike is here to share the concept behind the design and how it aligns with our goals.
Thank you, Michelle. All right.
Yeah, it needs to be worked on.
Thank you for the nice introduction. As Michelle mentioned, we've been working with planning on this facility probably for the last year. It's sort of been on and off. We have some momentum at this point where we feel we've developed the plan to a point where we're ready to move things forward. We had a great meeting with staff and engineering this morning, and kind of set the road for things we're going to have to look to as we finalize engineering for the Plan Commission. So we're looking forward to diving into all that. The site, as you know, if you know it, is we have a great woodland that covers about 2/3 of the site, which is very much a part of the experience of how animals or how people get to interact with pets as they get to know them and see if they want to be adopted. With the new plan, although we are increasing the building to just over 20,000 square feet, we did make a conscious effort to not extend into the woodland and try to stay within the footprint, the sort of inner fenced area that the facility currently stands on. So that was one of the things, and you'll see that on the site plan, that fence line should show up. So with that, I guess if there's any questions, happy to answer, and we look forward to bringing all the details of the development to the Plan Commission and to you further.
Trustee Jamerson, please.
So I'm assuming based on the site plan that the existing buildings will be history after the new building is up. Okay.
Yeah, so we have a phase plan that where we're going to build the building in 3 phases, and so that we can continue to operate in the existing building as we build one part of the building and then kind of flip-flop. Another component that's making that work is currently the entrance, the public entrance is going to be flipped to the other side as well, so that accommodates that phasing schedule.
That's where all the parking spaces are on the
Yeah, we're
east side.
parking on both sides, but yeah, the larger lots is the public lot. That's off of Saunders. We are utilizing both the existing curb cuts off of Riverwoods Road and Saunders.
Okay.
So they'll remain where they are. Just the currently the one off of Riverwoods is the public parking entrance.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Diggin, did you have
I had 2 quick questions. I could be wrong, but didn't you guys recently have a renovation to the cat swing?
It was a while ago.
Was that a while
It
ago?
was a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah, they did-
that was-
They do a renovation, but still, it's,
Okay. And where do you anticipate animals being while this construction takes place?
well, we're going to do it in phases,
Uh-huh.
like Mike just said, so we're hoping to, oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you. We're doing it in phases, so hopefully we're going to keep everybody where they are right now. We're going to build the new dog wing first. Well, we'll have diminished capacity while we're doing it. So probably half the dog capacity we'll have while that's being built. And then the cat wing will be built. And so, yeah, it'll be diminished capacity, but everybody will still be able to stay on site.
Thank you.
Trustee Eastman, please.
So pending approval, how long do you think the project will take entirely to complete?
I'll let you address that.
Well, there's a lot of factors. I think as far as design and construction, we would look at probably 6 months for design and permitting and probably a year and a half for construction of the project.
But in between the 6 months and the year and a half is our capital campaign. So we're just getting that underway. So it'll be dependent on the generosity of our community. Anybody here, feel free to reach out. So we just have to we're getting started with our work on that.
Thanks.
I just have,
Sure. Attorney Huvard, please. Oh,
I was just going
Clayton, go
to move that we refer the matter to the Plan Commission.
I just wanted to make one comment on the zoning, just so the board understands. things that were zoned in the village a long time ago, maybe it was before word processing. So animal care shelter is a special use, an R1 with no standards, no minimum size, nothing. We have the same situation with some other uses. So I'm thinking that that it might be appropriate to introduce a text amendment that says that an animal shelter like this is appropriate, provided there's a minimum lot size of something corresponding to maybe what Orphans has, because we had King's Kennel. We could have some other facilities, and I don't know what standard they had other than the very generic special use standard in the code for approving these. We don't have anything that governs lot coverage. We have the zoning setbacks, but that's about it. So I'm not looking to do anything but support the project, but I'm just thinking that in terms of setting a better precedent, as opposed to simply considering this again as what it is maybe just adding a few things that really demarcate it for this site as it is, if the board thinks that's appropriate.
Okay. There was kind of a motion.
Well, I'll kind of second it.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of referring this to the Plan Commission? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Good
so
luck.
much. Thank you, all of you.
Next on the agenda is the approval of a donation to the Center for Enriched Living. And is Herb with us tonight? Yes. Please come on out. Please come on out.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, sorry.
Maybe you just want to hang on to that. You
Yeah,
know?
I'm going to hang on to it.
Yeah.
I want to begin by saying thank you to Mayor Ford and the entire village board for the opportunity to present tonight and for considering support for the Center for Enriched Living and for the support provided in years past as well. I'm Herb Washington. I'm the CEO of CEL. I joined a little bit over a year ago because I was inspired by CEL's mission to empower people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to live fully, enrich lives, and incredibly impact their life, but also impact the communities around them. Just a quick blurb about me, since this is my first time interfacing with the village. I stepped into the role at CEL with 27 years of experience in the nonprofit sector, exclusively focusing on support and services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I currently live in Yorkville, so not exactly around the corner, with my wife and 2 young daughters. But prior to moving to Yorkville during the pandemic, we lived in Berkeley, which, if you're familiar, it's a 1 mile by 1 mile town of 5,000 residents adjacent to Elmhurst. Easy to pass through it and not even know we were in Berkeley. But there I served 2 terms as an elected trustee on the village Berkeley board. I only mention that because I have firsthand experience what it's like to sit where you're sitting, balancing the full agenda with listening to people like me, and wondering sometimes how long they're going to drone on for. So I promise to keep my remarks fairly short and to the point. CEL, as you all know, is located nearby, roughly 4 minutes from where we sit today, has been providing services and support to individuals with IDD for 56 years now. And we've been in Riverwood since the year 2000 when we erected our building on 280 Saunders Road. We provide a wide range of services and programs, focuses on building relationships, fostering independence, creating opportunities for inclusion in the community. And we operate 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So as we sit here, we still have programs and services occurring right now in our building. Every year, we support over 400 individuals with IDD, and each member's journey is unique, and so we strive to meet them where they're at, offering personalized programs that make a lasting impact. We help members gain essential life skills that foster greater independence, connect them with meaningful employment opportunities, and build relationships that enhance their qualities of life. And the remarkable thing and the great thing is that this transformative experience takes place right here in Riverwoods, in neighboring communities, making meaningful differences both for the people we support and their families. So one of the things I wanted to mention here is that For those who don't know, we operate completely independent from the state of Illinois funding structure. And this allows us flexibility to design and deliver programs that are truly tailored to the needs and desires of our members. Without the restrictions or bureaucratic hurdles that often accompany state funding, we can focus on being innovative. We can focus on quality. We can focus on inclusivity, ensuring that our members receive the support they need to thrive in ways that matter most to them. However, as a nonprofit free from state funding, CEL depends on the generosity of community supporters to sustain and expand our programs. This enables us to ensure that no one is turned away due to financial barriers, allowing us to welcome individuals and families who might otherwise lack access to these life-changing opportunities. As an example, last year we provided about $135,000 in financial assistance to families who otherwise would not be able to access the services that we offer. So funding support from the Village of Riverwoods would directly benefit this community by enabling CEL to provide scholarships to Riverwoods residents and beyond, enhance our quality and scope of our programs, and reach more individuals and families in need. So this is an investment, or would be an investment, not only in CEL, but in Riverwoods itself, fostering a more inclusive and supportive community for everyone. Your support would help us continue creating transformative opportunities for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families, helping them to build friendships, gain independence, access meaningful opportunities. Together, we can ensure that every individual has a chance to experience life's possibilities and make a lasting difference in their lives. So I want to thank you once again for your time and consideration. I look forward to building upon the great relationship that we've enjoyed with the Village of Riverwoods for the last 24 years and continuing to serve the community together. Happy to answer any questions or provide any additional detailed information you may want. Thank you.
Trustee Clayton, please.
Really a question for you, I think. How does this relate, or what's the connection between the Center for Enriched Living and NSSRA?
They do different things. Herb and I had lunch with Craig Culp when Herb Frisch came on board, and they do slightly different things. NSSRA focuses on recreational type activities. The kinds of things that you're hearing from Herb go well beyond that. Employment types of activities. That is not what the NSSRA does. They have over the years, they have coordinated with each other, and sometimes when NSSRA needed space in a building, CEL would provide that space. So there is a coordination, there's a recognition, and a kind of a compatibility. Herb, correct me if I'm wrong on that, please.
No, you're absolutely correct. There's while we operate differently, there's great synergy in terms of what we do. Again, the focus, our focus, while we include recreational activities, our primary focus is helping individuals build life skills, achieve employment. We also have, we launched in 2023 mental health services as well for people with disabilities.
Are there any other questions? Do I hear a motion to approve a donation of $5,000?
So moved.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Dicken.
Aye.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Trustee Hollander.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and you're doing such good work. Great neighbor. Thank you so much. Last item of business is, new business, is approval of an amendment to the cost share programs ordinance. Do I have a motion to waive first reading, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Is there a motion for second reading and adoption?
Can we have a question first
Sure,
on the subject?
absolutely.
I thought one of the problems we had with with this was that if you did something once, the program didn't allow you to do it a second time.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, that's what they're changing.
But when I read this, I don't see it being changed that way.
That's the blueprint.
An owner may participate in the same cost share program on a repeat basis.
If it's approved, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I mean, does that apply to the burning, for example, rather than continuing
yes.
the buckthorn removal? Because once you
Oh,
burned, you're
yes.
burned.
Well,
Just, I mean, there's a, when you're
Yeah.
removing buckthorn, new buckthorn may come in and you want to continue being part of that program. But on a burn, there is no continuing, you do it 3 or 4 years later. Is that, will this apply to that?
there is periodic burning. We've done a burn on our property more than one time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was
So-
not theoretically permitted.
Permitted, right.
Will
and
this
this
take
has
care of
occurred.
that?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. The idea here right now is to bring this in line with current practice. I can tell you that the Sustainability Committee is looking at the cost share program and intends to have a fuller discussion about that separately and hopefully bring more ideas about cost share amendments to the board at some point in time. So again, this is just bring it into consistency with current practice. First step. So
I make
now
a-
do I have a
Yes, I make a motion that we, for second
reading and
reading and adoption.
adoption?
Seconded.
That's it. Okay. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Trustee Hollander.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Dickon.
Aye.
Motion passes. Ordinance 24-11-17.
Thank you. Seeing no old business this evening, are there any visitors wishing to address the board? Yes, sir. Please state your name. Yeah, it's a problem.
I don't
Yeah.
want it to fall on me.
Yeah.
Maybe it goes.
Yeah, just pick
Is
it up.
It was backwards.
Yeah. There you go.
No, it's not.
Kinda.
Okay. Hello, my name is Mark Movell. We live at 15 Big Oak Lane. I basically was born in that house 55 years ago. My mom still resides in that house. I have an interest in that house. We are very much affected by this Deerfield expansion. A lot of the meetings that were happening around COVID time was also the time where my father was sick and passed away. So we did not attend a lot of the planning meetings. And when these things I wanted the board, and basically the reason for my appearance here today is to tell how impactful it is on a lifelong resident. I know, Mayor, I've written you an email.
Yes.
I've reached out to members of the board on Lake County, Brad Schneider's office. I don't know if anybody has seen any of these emails or anything, but they've been quite lengthy. I'm very passionate about it. If I get a little emotional, I apologize in advance. I'm dealing with my mom, who's 83, and simply put, that so many factors that I have asked for Lake County to provide information has not. It is just basically has been passed on. We'll get into it. We'll look into it. For example, my mom basically wants to be left alone and have good drinking water. It's been a terrible thing with her water the last few years. I know you've talked about the water issue. We're at the point where Lake Cook, or where Deerfield and Big Oak meet, the fire hydrants that are stubbed in and put there, it's about $200 and some thousand to bring it to my mom's house. But they do it in a circle that would bring it back down this Deerfield corridor, which is the property that they're buying from us homeowners on Big Oak Lane that back up to Deerfield Road. Now, I don't know if it's possible, I'm asking, can that be looked at as to somehow reduce the cost of providing water to the end of, I guess it's the north side of Deerfield Road by Deerfield and Sanders, to at least have them contribute or somehow help with this connection, because we need water badly. My mom, it's not drinkable. We've tested it, it barely passes the testing. We're constantly cleaning the aerator because of the stuff that's in it. I've talked to Schwal, and I've talked to Peter Snelton, Snelton and Sons, Kyle today, in fact. we're looking at a huge bill to just reconnect to dig another well that they said this whole area is very well affected with shale, and you're talking about going down, like 400 feet, which is $100,000 well. So I know it's my being here just talking about, there's many things, this project with Deerfield, ultimately we couldn't come to an agreement. So that they're trying to purchase the land. It's not been favorable for the homeowners. I know most of my neighbors have all hired attorneys. We're not in that situation. My mom doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to give up the land, but we're at the point now, we ask about a fence because across the street, they're getting a 15-foot rock wall because they had the little testers of sound, but they didn't do anything for our side. And according to the village, which I spoke to, I think before we spoke about, the height of the fence is 6 feet on our side. So we're the side that's impacted by the noise because it comes a drag race from Deerfield right there is where they merge, which is still going to happen. So and now we're going to get, that is going to be reflected back to and we're losing 20 feet of our woods, which brings our backyard right to a fence, right to the street. And I've talked about reducing the size of the path. None of these things will happen because path exists now and it's not on our property. Now it's 5 feet or an 8-foot wide path, 5-foot buffer, that's where I would want the water line to go, and then another 5-foot buffer. And it's all the reasons which they've told me it's federal money. Because they're taking federal money, these are the federal requirements for the distances, the width. And speaking to Ann Main, who also works with Libertyville, talked about maybe reducing that to a walking path. There are no changes. I've asked, sorry, we're not changing it. It's really impactful for us as a family of what's happening to our backyard. Our property is pie-shaped. Our front is no frontage. It's all about our backyard. It's like backing up to a lake and then someone draining the lake to us. I just want the board and to any way you can get involved. I know we talked about they're planting the trees and cost to do that. If we can get something where I can get with the neighbors, because it's on us on the north side to combat that 15-foot rock wall to put a fence. So if we can try to get together with my neighbors with, a certain height, but we're all locked with the 6-foot. If we can go higher, I could at least talk to a contractor about it just to make this less of an impact. Because we're also impacted. We can't do anything for a fence for 5 years because we're on the easement because we're on the corner house. So there's an easement, so I can't even close in the area. So this is concerning because my mom's 83 and this is going to be quite open for people to see right in through now the house. Most people don't know there's a house back there. And you guys mostly do, but a lot of people don't even see that there's a house in there. This is going to be quite visible because it's only a few feet from our backyard and we're not going to have any of that natural fencing. So I just wanted to bring this up today to talk kind of in an open forum. So you realize that, people that are lifelong residents were hurting with the water. This is really traumatic for what they're doing to our property. And I know that, Village cares about a major road that goes through, but when my parents bought this house and they picked that lot, there were stop signs. There was no mobile station. They lost the property on the corner because of the bike path. They were never compensated. Now they're losing another 20-some feet of it. And, like I said, they picked that for a reason because of the nature. They moved from Evanston to here and had 3 children. Dad's a naval officer for 20 years. My mom worked in the VA. And when they find that federal money is doing this, and they said, we can't change it. You need 20 feet for a bike path? Come on. So you can't change what their drawings. They have a 92-page document to say that we don't qualify for sound. But they never did a sound test on there's so many holes. But we're not the people that are going to go after and I'm going to hire a lawyer and try to fight this. And My mom's already going to court now because of a first hearing. We're trying to work this out with the county, but we just ultimately want the village to know what's going on to people that are facing this. And for a lifelong resident, we hope that at least you guys can hear me and know that this is really affecting. And, my mom's heartbroken about this. I mean, it's not easy when you're alone now, and now that you're dealing with someone taking their land. You didn't think this would happen, but it's happening. So, and it's really impacts her. She doesn't want to sit outside anymore knowing this is going to happen. She just wanted to live her life in peace, and now she doesn't even want to live here anymore because of what's happening. So I apologize. I'm a little emotional about this. If you guys have any questions, I would love to answer anything for you. Call me at any time, email me, anything. It's just, I'm really frustrated with, trying to talk to the county or here in village for water issues. It got, sorry, it's not in the budget. It's not. And I just had Caps Plumbing try to give us an estimate to see if it was cheaper. And they said no one from the village got back to them. It's frustrating. I don't feel like we're getting any help from anybody. And it's, we care about this place. I care. I'm a realtor. I'm selling this area, but this is going to be my home. But I don't know if it will be anymore after what's happening. So I just want you guys to know.
Mark, we have your contact information. We have your email address and all. Is that right?
You should have it.
Yeah.
I know you and I
Yeah,
responded
we've gone back
directly.
and forth, right.
It was a while ago, several months ago, and I know we
Yeah.
spoke, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where
The water issue is really, that's very concerning as well.
I have documentation when I have it. It's black stuff that comes out of my mom's faucets. I can't believe that,
I get it.
she lives in this kind of area and we're dealing with this, and everybody the professionals say,
Yeah.
the only thing you can do is connect to, and I said, okay.
Yeah.
And then
Municipal
when you
water.
get that, my mom can't afford that.
Yeah.
So it's just, what do we do? And we just buy bottled water all the time and pour it in there to make spaghetti, because we can't cook with that water, and we have multiple filtration systems. It's still, I have to change it every 3 weeks because it pulls up so much clay that I can make a clay pot out of the stuff in 3 weeks. So I just want you guys to know, it's, if there's something the county can do, on one side of that. I know you make a branch. I saw the layout of where the fire hydrants are, but we're at the end of the lane, and they stopped the fire hydrant at where the fork in the road happens at Big Oak.
Yeah.
So
let's see what we'll take a look at all that for you again.
Thank you.
And again, but thank you for coming forward. I know it's difficult. Difficult. Are there any questions the trustees might have for you at this point? I think we'll just, we'll get back to you.
Thank you very much.
We'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you. Is there anyone else who's wishing to address the board, please? Going once, going twice. Okay, moving on. There's no reason for executive session that I'm aware of. The next date for our meeting is December 3rd, right here, 7:30. Do I have a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Hello.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, same sign. Good night and thank you.